Once upon a time, there was a stagnant puddle alongside a river. And in the puddle lived some cuttlefish. They lived there very comfortably, swimming around in circles, eating water bugs. Then one day, out of nowhere, a huge, beautiful golden fish landed splash right in the middle of their puddle. Terrified, all the little puddlefish scurried under the roots of the tree that surrounded their puddle, and they watched and they waited, shivering with fear. Then the beautiful golden fish began to swim around a little. Eventually he said, "It's all right. I won't hurt you. What do you do here?" One brave little cuttlefish ventured out a little way and explained, We live here. This is our puddle. We swim around in circles and eat water bugs." "Oh," said the golden fish, "but don't you know about the sea?" "What's the sea?" asked another cuttlefish. "The sea," said the golden fish, is out there. It's so big that you can't even see the end of it. And it's so full of things that you can never count them all. You can only swim in circles here, but fish can dance in the tides of the sea. Well now, the puddlefish paused to consider all this new information. Shortly, one swam out and said flatly, "No such thing." Then after an embarrassed pause, because cuttlefish don't like rudeness, another swam out to say, "Well, of course, we're all quite sure that the sea is quite real to you. We are, after all, open-minded." Then another ventured out to ask, Where is the sea? And how does one get to it?" And the big golden fish said, "It's at the end of the river. And all you have to do is swim around and around very fast and jump over this bank into the river. And the river will carry you out to the sea." "But the river has swift currents and snags along the edges," exclaimed some of the cuttlefish. "Yes," said the golden fish, "but the river will carry you along, and it's the only way to get to the sea. And soon this puddle will be gone. The rain won't come, and it will dry up. But the river will take you to the sea." Just then another cuttlefish swam out to suggest, quite reasonably, "Why don't we establish a group to study this matter? We could meet once a week to discuss the dangers of the river and the sea." There was a pause for a brief moment. And then the golden fish said, "No." And then slowly began to swim around in a circle. Each time around it went a little faster. And after all, the cuttlefish at first just watched. But then one swam out and began to swim around with the golden fish, going faster and faster. And in a little while, two more cuttlefish began to circle with them, and then another. They swam faster and faster and then leaped over the edge of the puddle and into the they began to swim out. And they swam slowly around the puddle until the water settled down. And it wasn't long until they were eating water bugs again. Friends, it is easy to believe that our world is the only world there is. It is easy to become insulated within our own tribe, our own group, our own perspective, our own thought patterns, our own prejudices, our own ethnicity, our own race, our own creed, our own neighborhood, our own comfortable life. That can provide us with some measure of temporary comfort and security. It can in some ways be grounding, but it can also subtly but profoundly rob us of the larger perspective necessary to grow as a person, and particularly as a person of faith. It can begin to ever so subtly lure us into believing that our faith is the only true faith possible, that our customs are the only proper customs, that our patterns of thought are the only possible correct way to think. In its most exaggerated form, it can even lead us to do damage to those who are different from us, and cause us to reject any new information that might lead to our own salvation, and ultimately the salvation of the world. Jesus was faced with an invitation to leave his comfort zone. He received a request from someone who was not a Jew. In fact, someone who was a person of power in the Roman system that oppressed his own people, his own tribe. This was someone Jesus had reason to fear. But this Roman centurion made an honest, humble request that Jesus come and heal his slave. And Jesus decided to step out of his comfort zone and move into the territory of this other. And what Jesus found astounded him. He found a person of surprising humility and openness and trust. A trust in the same divine presence, in fact, that Jesus trusted with his life. A trust that Jesus said was rare even among his own people, Israel. Jesus had the courage to get out of his own world, and in doing so, found goodness and promise and commitment where he least expected to find it. Like Jesus, we too can trust that God's life can be found beyond our limited world. Or, like cuttlefish, we can stay where we are and wait for the water around us to stagnate and evaporate. You see, friends, the Christ energy came to live in our pond, in the prophetic mystic Jesus, so that we might follow him into God's abundant sea of love. A love to be shared with everyone for the good of all. But if we are to follow the courageous, life-giving example of Jesus, simply put, we need to get out more. The sea awaits. Amen.